Last week I talked about procrastination and some tools that I use to get over the procrastination. But the fact was I was procrastinating because I didn't want to pay attention to a message that life was sending me. And the message was this: step into the light to see the shadow that you hide from. Then a blessing will come into your life and restore a wound to wellness. Well, if you've ever looked at the darker aspects of your life, a lot of times we don't want to look at those aspects. We do hide from them because they bring up a lot of darker emotions, or they bring up wounding. They bring up a lot of different things. And so it's not something that we want to go into every day. But I decided to do a little research on what shadow work is, and I attached a blog down below that I felt was super helpful in that process. And then I finally stopped procrastinating and I did the shadow work that needed to be done. And for those of you who don't know what shadow work is, the gist of shadow work is that life brings a situation or a person into your experience so that you can face a darker part of yourself. And typically what happens in these situations is that a situation or a person is brought in and there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of dark emotion that's brought up because this person or this experience is what is creating it. But really, like I said, life is bringing it in for a reason, and it's there to put up the big mirror so that we can finally face and not hide from those aspects within ourselves. So there were situations and people in my life that I was definitely having that experience with. And once I sat down and wrote about it, and I'm telling you, man, did I procrastinate doing it because I did not want to. And when I did, I was bawling. I was bawling for an hour, writing about this situation, writing about what it is I felt, writing about my beliefs. Finally, when I was at the end and I had just cried all the tears I could possibly cry and experiencing those wounds opening up again from these situations, I looked at it and said, you know what? All I want to do is love these people. All I want to do is say, I am so grateful for this situation in my life. And I noticed how it was my beliefs and it was all of these different things that was keeping me from being able to say those words. So I literally prayed about it. And the next day I woke up and something happened. I really did look at the person and the situation and I said, I love you. Not physically, I did not say this to the person, but in my mind, I'm experiencing the wounding, I'm experiencing the situation again, I'm experiencing the person, and I'm saying, I love you. You are free to be you, and you are free to have that situation, and you are free to bring that situation into my life because it's happening, and I'm not going to argue against reality, and the fact that I just want to love you. And when I did that, it allowed me to love a part of myself. It allowed me to love those darker aspects of myself. And it was magical the way it changed everything in my life because I could let go of that judgment I was holding against somebody else and against a situation and really receive it. And the story that it brought to me and brought to my mind is the story of Jesus and the woman that was going to be stoned for her actions that were considered wrong. And there was a lot of judgment. And this woman's brought to the front and there's a whole crowd and they're getting ready to stone her. And Jesus steps up and says, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And I'm sure it was super quiet, and one by one, people started dropping their stones because they're realizing, hey, I'm not the only one who's made mistakes in my life. I'm not the only one who's encountered these situations. And in fact, if my situations were brought into the light, just like hers were right now, I wouldn't want to be stoned for them. Not to mention the fact that Jesus, who was he without sin, didn't even cast a stone. So the representation of that story and what I experienced in my life this week by setting those people free to love them for who they are. And that doesn't mean I have to invite them over for dinner. That doesn't mean that I have to agree with them or welcome them or like the situation. It just meant that I was able to be free to love them in my own way, so that I could love a part of myself and love those darker aspects of myself that it brought up. And when I did that, it was like, dang, this is who I am. And I love who I am. And by setting that person free and that situation free, it allowed me to love that part and set myself free. And then massive opportunities opened up. Massive blessings came into my life. And I truly believe that if I did not pay attention to that message, that these blessings and these situations would not be occurring. So life is always speaking to us. May we all have ears to listen. That's our Thursday night thought. I look forward to sharing our next Thursday night thought together. Thank you for tuning in.